Welcome to the Ever Celine podcast, the show that ignites your passion for leadership and empowers you to develop a culture of continuous improvement. I'm your host, Matt Sims, and in each episode, we bring you fascinating insights and invaluable tips from our incredible lineup of guests. What do they all have in common? They share an unwavering dedication to excellence and are the experts in driving engagement, improving metrics, and reducing costs.
The Ever So Lean podcast with Matt Sims. You know it makes sense.
This episode is sponsored by Catalyst Consulting Limited. Catalyst Consulting exists to help people and organisations work better today and be ready for tomorrow. They have a rich history of igniting business transformation using business agility, lean, Six Sigma, strategy deployment, agile and change management. They can help you and your organisation to develop the skills necessary to work and manage differently. To find out more, check out catalystconsulting.co.uk. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Carl Appleton, co-founder of Shape Associates and a dedicated advocate for technology-driven efficiency. Now, Carl's passion for optimizing processes with tools like Microsoft Office 365 is truly inspiring. With a background steeped in continuous improvement across diverse industries, Carl brings invaluable insights to today's discussion. His expertise in maximising return on investment through Office 365 adoption and his commitment to organisational success in the digital age make him an invaluable resource. Throughout his remarkable career, Carl has held notable roles. Now, he's not had your traditional method into continuous improvement. He served as a firefighter for over 13 years and had a decade-long service in the Royal Navy. It's these experiences that have cultivated resilience and leadership qualities that Carl brings to every endeavour. But what truly distinguishes Carl is his dedication to straightforward, accessible, continuous improvement education, recognising the challenges of navigating complex methodologies like Lean Six Sigma. Carl and Shape Associates offer on-site training that simplifies concepts and engages participants effectively. Now, this method of engaging people, making the complex simple, is something that's really, really close to my heart and something that we try to do through the Ever Celine platform. So I'm really looking forward to my discussion with Carl today. Now, he's going to take us inside his unique approach, sharing its genesis, implementation, and the positive feedback which he's received. His commitment to making continuous improvement practical and impactful is truly commendable and an insight that will be valuable for many. So without further ado, let's extend a warm Ever Celine welcome to Carl Appleton.
Great. Nice to meet you, Matt. Thanks for that wonderful introduction there. I'm sure you put me on a pedestal that doesn't need to be that high, but I really appreciate it.
It was like a stage introduction.
It was.
The crowd were going wild. There was underwear being thrown up. It was crazy. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. So I've got you can tell it's summer because the studio's light, and it's light because the blinds are open and the windows are open. I'm really going for it.
It's brilliant. My office will be red hot by the afternoon, not only with the excitement that I generate with my work, but the sun will be shining through it.
Yeah, do you have the same problem as me where the sun in the afternoon comes round to that side of the house and then just like it just 100%. Makes it so it's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely bakes me and gets me red hot.
Yeah, I find I'm in a jumper in the morning and by the afternoon I'm sitting in my pants. It's crazy.
Speedos for me.
That's why I do my podcast in the morning. Don't want to put that up on anybody. Right, there we go. Right, great start. So you've got a really interesting sort of introduction to getting into continuous improvement. I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody before that's come from a background of firefighting and the Royal Navy and ended up in continuous improvement. How'd that happen?
Well, it's a funny old story. So I did 10 years in the Navy, really enjoyed it, but decided I needed to move on. And then I left after 10 years and joined the Fire Service in Hampshire. And did quite a bit of time, 13 years plus with them. And then I met my wife, who's from Jersey, Channel Islands, and I managed to secure a job at the Airport Fire Service. They were going through a transformation project, and to be fair, the Airport Fire Service wasn't doing it for me as much as the everyday fire service in Hampshire was. And so there wasn't as much, out and about stuff, which is good. You don't want that at an airport, to be fair. You don't want any incidents, so it wasn't a bad thing. But the type of personality I am, I can't sit still and not think about making things better. It's just naturally inbred in me. And I'm a typical northerner. I just keep asking why and question things until somebody gives me the right answer. So Doug Bannister was the CEO at the time, and he was implementing a continuous improvement program. And I went on the Yellow Belt training run by, funnily enough, one of my business partners now, Justin Woodley. He was working for Capita. He was running these 2-day Yellow Belt based courses, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, absolutely loved it. And the aim of the game for the Ports of Jersey was that they would have somebody internal take over that role. And I was asked to do it. I loved it. I was made process improvement manager overnight, from fireman to process improvement manager. So, but like with anything, Matt, it's common sense is a lot of it, but it's just that ability to be allowed to do it. So being to be as a fireman and the Navy, the fireman more so, you're having to think on your feet and change things dynamically. And you sort of get used to the fact that things change, so you have to deal with them. So yeah, I love it, and that's what started my journey.
I can imagine all of the process improvement managers that are listening now, right, that have spent years studying, are cursing you, saying I was a firefighter on the Friday, and then Saturday morning I was a process improvement manager, just like that.
Yeah, just like that.
But I can imagine, actually, thinking about it, there's so many similarities, because with the firefighting, you'd have standard work and standards that are, I suppose, have to be followed.
Yes.
You have maintenance practices that have to be followed.
Yeah. You processing, checking, and they used to over-check things, over-oil things, over-grease things, because there was too many checks. Checkers checking the checker. And it's
waste.
And yeah, completely lots of Tim Woods going on there. And one thing I found though about the fire service was very hierarchical. There are lots of levels of managers.
That's what I do. That's what I do. Change the word.
I even make them up sometimes. But the thing about that is, and that's because it's a disciplined service. But I used to get frustrated by the fact that we could do things so much better here. Why are we doing this? And especially when I started at the airport, it was going through a massive cultural change as well. So, everybody's just doing what they do because that's what they've always done. And it's like that in most places. So, yeah, it was like a natural progression for me.
I suppose, though, coming from that background where it was like that, lots of organisations now tend to be matrix organisations where there is a lot of complexity, there's a lot of sign-off and layers and onion layers to peel back. I guess you coming from that background, when you go in as a consultant, I guess it gives you that credibility and that understanding of what people, and that empathy of what people are feeling.
Definitely, because you get some senior managers or managers or whoever creates these processes where it has to be checked and checked and checked. They worry, and not necessarily worry, but it's that we always have to check so many times. But it's given that ability to they've been promoted probably from where the shop floor up into the office, and we've always done it that way. And it's just giving them the confidence to say, actually, don't worry, trust the people that you've employed, and you don't have to keep checking. Don't overcheck, let's give that responsibility to the person that's doing the job.
Is that what you find it is? Is it a confidence thing? They don't have confidence in the individuals?
No, I don't think they necessarily have confidence in them because they employ them. But some places you go to where they've inherited people that they probably wouldn't necessarily employ. But if you educate the team you work with and let the manager prise their fingers off the process, and say, come on, let's. You don't want to be worrying about this all day, or you don't want to be checking things all day. You've got people employed in your team to do that. So it's giving them the confidence, but then also showing them that you can work with the people that report to them to say, well, actually, if we do it this way in this structured manner, you're not going to need to check it every week, every day, or every hour or minute. You can do it. We can put a system in place that checks it for you.
You need to come around my house and create me a system, right? Because one of my big bugbears is I'll say to my 11-year-old son, can you empty the dishwasher for me? He's like, yeah, I'll do it in a minute. But I cannot give that task, then write it off in my mind, bin it off, and then
Yeah.
carry on with something else. I have to store it and have it on my mind, because half hour later I go back and he hasn't done it. And I go, can you do dishwasher? You said you were going to do it. Yeah, in a minute. I go, and I think, well, he's going to do it in a minute. And I go off and do something else. I come back an hour later and he still hasn't done it. And I hate it. I hate having those tasks on my mind. I've asked someone to do it and they haven't done it. You just can't relax.
No, yeah, I get that, because you keep looking at them and think, what are you doing? I leave continuous improvement, my continuous improvement training ahead at the door when I go home, because my wife once told me your 5 whys don't work at home.
Yeah, the psychology.
Yeah, pick your battles, Carl.
Yeah. Do you go up to her and go, rather than going, what's for dinner? Do you go, talk to me about what you're cooking for dinner?
Yeah,
how would you improve that? That's funny. It's a checklist. Did you follow this, by the way? Is this what you did? You'll end up divorced.
Yes, that would happen, definitely.
So that leads me actually quite nicely into the first thing I wanted to ask you. So that rich background that you've got, how has that influenced the way you approach what you do then in Shape Associates? Because if you are all about making the complex simple, has that come from those experiences?
Yes, but a combination of a fast trajectory, I managed to say that all right.
Yeah.
From going from firefighter to process improvement manager, and some great mentors at Port Jersey. I had a couple of really good mentors that helped me out there. And experience, 23, 25 years in total, previous experience in an industry where you see a lot of, especially fire service, you see a lot of sad things. There's a lot of heartbreaking stuff. There's a lot of good stuff as well, but there's stuff that makes you feel, actually, there's a lot worse off people than you. There's a lot. So in your approach to doing things, it ain't going to be that bad. So I always try with the 80-20 rule. If we're 80% there, let's just go with it. One of my mentors, he said, and he always used to open it up, he said, if we don't kill anyone, let's go for it. It's not going to kill anyone or seriously hurt them. Let's move forward with it. And it's right, because it puts things in perspective, should I say, working in industry, in an environment where, you could be, really helping, seriously, saving somebody's life in a way, when you're going to go and talk to somebody about why have you got 150 bins in an area where you only need 50, and they're worried about the outcome of that. Helps you put it in perspective. Do you know what I mean? I think it just puts life in perspective, to be fair.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. You're spot on. It's those two-way door decisions, isn't it? I mean, you don't learn unless you experiment.
No.
And if you wait to be 100% there, you're never gonna get there. You're very rarely. Are you? Yeah, exactly.
I always if you do 20% of effort, we'll give you 80% of the project complete. Let's go with it. Come on.
Even if you manage to get the project to its definition of 100% complete, it's never going to be, right, I can walk away from that now, it's completely finished. There's going to be more things you have to do anyway. So,
and and what also is important though, Matt, is creating that environment around you that the teams that are looking at them don't start pointing the finger going, we told them that it's going to no good. They want to be there supporting. So it's all about the culture as well. Don't be finger pointing. Don't be that finger pointing team. Be that team that's saying, do you want to hand up with that?
Yeah, it's almost like there's tripwires. People are waiting for things to fail.
Oh, they love it, don't they? Some people love it. And that's one of the funniest things, I think, when you start with a new company. You soon find out the people that are like, here he is. We'll try and catch him out.
Yeah, I always think to myself, like, if you win the lottery in America, people go, oh, well done, man. Congratulations. I'm so pleased for you. What are you going to buy? And all this kind of stuff. If you win the lottery in the UK, people go, well, he didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
It's out of order. I should have had that. People are just desperate to knock you. It seems to be our culture.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And it's like when people get promoted or, chosen to do, it's like, he should have got promoted or she should have got promoted. And, and when somebody messes up, oh, yes, I told him. Or the paper loves a bad news, or good news, bad news story about people who have won the lottery and lost it all to...
Yeah, they've spent it on stuff.
Yeah.
You get the email, like in your promotion email comes out, and then, you jump on the bandwagon, congratulations, I'm so pleased for you. Then you go to the coffee machine and you go, can't believe Carl got promoted. Bang out of order. That's what we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Right, so next question then. So how can businesses maximise their return through the use of tools like Office 365? And what are the common challenges that you help organisations overcome when they use that process?
One of the great things about it's now called Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft 365. So, but it's still Office 365.
Yeah.
The great thing about it is, I'm sorry,
You're a popular man.
that just keeps going up, and I'm part of a. I've been added to a presentation. One of our trainers is giving a presentation. I should have turned that off. Apologies. And he keeps tagging me in it. So with 365, most companies have it, so it's a common platform to be used. And most people have it, and they're already paying that premium per user every month. Now, on this platform is with the apps. They've got lots of apps with lots of functionality. You can really maximize the use of creating any paper. If somebody's walking around with a clipboard and a piece of paper, then you need to give us a shout, because that can be transferred to Microsoft 365. And it's what they call low code, no code. So it's ex-fireman. I used to just chew on crayons and drive fire engines. Now I can build a power app in Microsoft. So what we tend to do is we go in, we show the company what the art of the possible is, what you can do, creating forms, power apps, Power BI dashboards, all the basics, the journey of a piece of paper. So we staple that process, we follow that journey, and then we turn it into a digital solution. But not only is it, we don't want to make it from a slow rubbish process to a fast rubbish process. It needs completely reviewing as well. Like, let's get all the waste out. Then we show the companies how to do it, and then create digital champions within that company that sit outside of IT. Doesn't have to be IT. So we came to Matt Sims Inc., and you had a team of 5 people that worked as managers or supervisors or people on the, or as many people as that's a bit small for you, isn't it? 5 people. Let's say 500 people for Matt Sims.
More like it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And we could teach people at all levels to build and create in a structured manner solutions through 365. And you wouldn't believe the power of it sometimes, what it can do. And it's very good at replacing existing third-party bits of software, different systems. And what it does is joins them all up. But these digital champions then go on to do it for the business. And we, as a consultancy, as Shape Associates, our end goal is to be able to walk away. We don't want to be one of those companies that just keeps taking and taking. We want to be able to say, there we are, we've come in, we've changed it, and we're giving you the tools and the training, and off you go on your own. So it's so exciting. When people see it, I love doing the presentation. My colleague, he sits with me on it, and he just says, when you start, it's just you can see the enthusiasm behind it. But the common challenges with organisations, the biggest common challenge, and if I've got any developer friends listening to this or any IT developers, they're not that keen on it, because it can solve a lot of solutions rather than having a team of developers in the business.
Right.
Rather than employing a developer. Developers, brilliant. I love them. They're great. They can join. Their knowledge is immense. Their skill set is great. But for everyday solutions like doing a vehicle check or a walk around or an inspection or a report on something, it can be created in 365 within an hour rather than sending it off to a developer and all of that type of thing. So that was probably one of our biggest challenges in an organisation where they have that. But also, it's people on the ground, So, for example, I like working in the maritime, aviation, transportation type industry. And your typical user that is working with this on their phone don't want to use it. We don't like technology. We like the bit of paper. So it's the cultural piece. But these people that push back on it, initially, I love them. They're great to work with. They're my biggest challenges, and it's great. You're not going to get all of them, but they normally know what to do with Amazon on a phone. They can put something on Facebook. They can do their ordering. They can, everything they need to do. They can text on WhatsApp. So it's just we don't want to, but
so you find it's will over skill a lot of the time.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people are like going, well, why do we have to change this? Well, actually, instead of you can request your time off now from your sofa rather than having to come into the office on the Monday morning to see if you can get the time off that the wedding you forgot to book off because you forgot to do it, which is probably typically me. You could have booked that off at the weekend when you were sat there getting told off.
Do you find that you get a different reaction dependent upon the generational demographic?
Definitely, 100%. In the maritime industry at the moment now, we've got some good clients that were biggest clients of ours, which are maritime based. But you find that they want to try and entice the younger generation coming in. They expect it to be on a phone or a tablet or, a device that's, we had one company that bought glasses that have little screens on.
Oh, the Google glasses.
Yeah, but it was something. Anyway, that was, I don't know if there's a right solution or not for them, but they'd already done it. But yeah, you find that they expect it. And also deep down, the people nearer the age of retirement probably are expecting it to come in. They're just defiant about it. And they're not always in a bad way. But going back to my Navy and Fire Service, I always, if we're meeting a group of stevedores, say, so they unload and load ships, it can be quite intimidating. You walk into a room of 25 burly, majority blokes that have been doing it, big old, burly guys, and you're trying to tell them how we're going to do this. And so I always tell them about my experiences as in the Royal Navy as an engineer and as a firefighter, because I feel it's important to be able for them to actually register. He's done some stuff in the past.
Yeah.
He's not just a process improvement guy. That's all he does is tour around telling people what to do. He's got some life experience with it. And that is probably actually key to a lot of our colleagues that work with us at Shape have all got a little bit of life experience, military or whatever that may be.
One of the most common questions that I get is people that want to be process improvement managers or be leaders of change in some way. They say to me, what would you recommend that I do to get a role like that? And I always say the best thing you could do is go and perform some frontline operational roles for a period of time. So you've got that credibility, you've got that knowledge, you've got that empathy, you've got that understanding of what happens, because you can't buy that. You can't learn that in a textbook. You've got to do it.
You've got to do your time at the coalface.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you say, like when you go in and you speak to that demographic, they are far more likely to respond and react to what you're saying because you've been there and done it than somebody who's never even set foot on a shop floor.
Yeah, 100%. Because you can relate to them. And it might not even be the shop floor that they're on, but you've worked on a shop floor and you've worked where you've been, you've worked probably in processes that are rubbish as well, or, and you can have that empathy with them.
I always turn into the Uncle Albert. I sit there and go, during the war, it's like going back to something that happened years ago. During the war, I did this. I wasn't in the war. Don't worry, I'm not that old. So talk to me a little bit about the approach that you take to make the complex methodologies sound much more understandable and engaging for participants, because I'm really passionate about this. And this whole podcast was built on the premise of making things that people commonly switch off from because they sound really scary and making them, Janet John, really, really simple, easy to understand. I'm really keen to understand how you're doing that.
Let's start we're back with Matt Sims Inc. now. We're going back there. We're going to meet with you, Matt, and say, right, you're going, Carl, everybody's all over the place, etc., etc. I'm sure we've got some, historical issues here that we need to look at, etc. We want to improve what we do. So we formulate a plan with the client, the CEO and the senior managers. And then we want them to take accountability of, saying this, we are doing this. This is what we want from our team and the commitment we're going to give as the senior leadership team. So depending on length, it doesn't matter. It's all scalable. We could work with them for 2 weeks. We work with somebody for 18 months. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter. It's the same process, but different scale. So depending on the size of the project, but if it's a biggish project, we'll go and meet some key people in the business. We'll work on a process that is causing pain across the business. And then we'll go in and do a rapid improvement event with the people. So 2, 3, 5 days. So Port of Dover, we did a rapid improvement event with them on their procurement. And then so we did 5 days on that, came out with a solution at the end of it. Now we've got an example of what we've done within that company. Because it's great. I can go, when I was at Ports of Jersey or when I did this, we want something that can relate to the business. So now we've got that piece of work to say, right, this is what we've done already. We did it in 4 days. We did it in 3 days or whatever. Then we start running out, say, a 2-day continuous improvement training, anywhere between 9 and 15 people. And what they do is they come in, it's yellow belt based, Six Sigma, yellow belt based, but in plain English. So they come in for 2 days, and at the beginning, we get the CEO to introduce it, say to them, you're going to spend the next 2 days here. You're going to be working on some processes. I'm going to come tomorrow and find out what you've done at the end of it. I want you to feed back to me. But you guys, basically, everybody here has the ability to ask why we do it, and nobody in the business can stop you from looking into something. So he's giving them that ability.
The key to the city.
Yeah, basically. And so then what we do is we work on, they all bring a project with them. We split into groups of 3 or 4, depending on the people. And then they choose a project to work on for 2 days. So it's a project that's within the business that people know or are aware of, or there might be people from other departments that are working on it, but they don't know anything about it. But that can be the best thing sometimes. And then we park all the other projects to be worked on once at a later date. So that first day we go through change, we go through process mapping, we go, and we talk about how to implement change successfully, stakeholder engagement, problem statements, everything that's involved in setting up a scope in exercise. Then in the afternoon, we process map it out, and we do every real deep down process map on the walls, all engagement, and then we identify the waste. The next day, they come back all like excited normally because I've been thinking about this last night. We could do this, do that, and then. The second day, we do an introduction to Microsoft 365 for about an hour, hour and a half. We do root cause analysis, 5 whys, etc., SIPOCs, the lot. And then in the afternoon, we formulate a solution, the to-be process. If it's a Microsoft 365 solution, which I would suggest 90% of our problem statements and that are, because it's generally a paper-based driven process at the moment, we'll create the solution in the afternoon. Or get it almost there. Then the CEO comes back and closes it down, feeds back to them, engages, and that is it really for the continuous improvement. And we aim to get 25% of the business through the training as a baseline. But yeah, the key to it is my delivery. I mean, you look into it, you see, oh my word, it's like a snake's wedding in there, and close the lid and walk away. I'm a Yorkshireman, I try and get every bit out.
I bet you do. I bet you're shaking it off in the hole and everything, isn't you?
Your scattergun approach on LinkedIn will never work.
It's the Yes No game with Carl Appleton. Are you ready to elevate your team's ways of working? Are you seeking fresh insights and growth opportunities? Our experts will assess your team's practices, providing valuable insights for improvement and celebration. Reward and recognise your team with this certification tailored specifically for creating an improvement culture. The BQF Academy accreditation acknowledges your journey, outstanding outcomes, and future plans. Whether you utilise Lean, Six Sigma, project management, or continuous improvement techniques, this certification celebrates your incredible work and positive impact. Propel your team's performance to new heights with the BQF Team Excellence Culture Certification. Visit www.bqf.org.uk today and let's celebrate your success together.
13-time Shingo Prize winner Dr. Jeffrey Likert and Toyota Kata author Mike Rother have created the Improvement Kata and Coaching Kata online course. This inexpensive, compact program is designed to transform your thinking and approach, making you a highly skilled learner and coach. Engage in deliberate practice to turbocharge your progress. You also get lifetime access to the materials, including all of the bonus interviews. Why pay up to 10 times the price elsewhere, listening to some consultant, when you can gain direct insights from the masters themselves? Skip the rest and go with the best. Join us today and embark on your journey to excellence. Just click on the link below to start your journey.
And then they go off and we support them, and then they become champions within their parts of the business. So, and then eventually we create the visual management areas, etc., around the business, common tools, etc., A3 documents. But yeah, the key to it is my delivery.
Of course. Can't buy it.
Well, you can.
Yeah, well, yeah, for a price.
But it's the engagement from the senior management. And I mentioned Doug Bannister earlier on before. He's now CEO of Dover, and his outlook, and this is a big, big up for Doug, because he is absolutely fully engaged with this. And he comes along and he opens and closes as many as he can. Now, running the Port of Dover is a lot involved in that, especially with politics and, meetings in London and stuff. But he's really, really passionate about it, and he introduces it, and it just flows through the business then.
That's probably a lesson for all in there. I think it's really important whenever you do any kind of continuous improvement or change initiative to have a senior sponsor, someone that actually takes a vested interest and comes in and does that pre-talk and comes in at the end to see what's going on. When you don't have that, you really notice that it's missing.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And I just think it's giving the people the ability to ask why, and making a blanket statement to your senior managers to say, nobody can be turned down reviewing and looking into a process, because it'll either be fit for purpose or it'll be improved. And it's data driven. Data is key. And this is the structure that we were talking about. If you've got your managers that they want to let go, you're peeling the hands off fingers off the process, and you can say to them, look, these guys have all been through the training. They're going to do it in a systematic way. Whether it's a quick win, a process review, or a rapid improvement event, they're going to follow the process. And they're all going to come up with data-driven solutions and data-driven problems. So we always say to them, go to the process owner, and don't just go, oh, we think this is rubbish, this process, or I'm sure we could save some time, and blah, blah, blah. That's great. You might think that, but go with some bit of data saying, well, actually, we fill out this form 30 times a day, and it takes 10 minutes across the business a day, and it gets done about et cetera, and then they'll go, well, actually, yeah, we can maybe stream that down a bit. And then, but we need to say to the businesses, as a manager or a process owner, that you can't just go, no, I don't want you to do it, but you can go and say, actually, the law says we've got to do it this way, and then I'd even question it, because there's a lot. It's how you interpret the law. Like if it hasn't been changed for 30 years, you might have to put a signature on something 30 years ago, but now they might accept a digital signature. You don't have to print it off in triplicate and all that type of stuff. So I still question it anyway. I'm quite relentless, really, which in a good way, in a polite way as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's the way you do it, isn't it? I think it's right to question everything.
You've got to.
Otherwise, you're never really going to turn those rocks over and find those hidden gems, are you?
No. I mean, you look into it and you see, oh my word, it's like a snake's wedding in there, close the lid and walk away. Whereas, me, oh, wow, this is great. We've got to question that. Why are we doing it? And when a company says to me, I tell you what, you've got so-and-so in this department, they'll never be on board. I said, right, let's start with them.
I still find it incredible that in a fuel station that we still do it the same way as we've always done it. You park up next to the pump, you lift the nozzle, you put it in the hole, you squeeze it. And bear in mind, you don't have to go in and pay now. Lots of them do have the pay on the pump facility. Yeah. But I'm really surprised that it hasn't progressed to where you pull up next to it and it does it all automatically.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would save wastage, because you always get a bit that spills down the con. No matter how much you try, you always get that little bit that dribbles down, don't you?
I'm a Yorkshireman. I try and get every bit out.
I bet you do. I bet you're shaking it off in the hole and everything, aren't you?
Yeah.
But you do, though. You get wastage and you get it on the floor, and it gets, even if you put the little gloves on, you get it all over your hands. And obviously these service stations are then paying for all these gloves. They're paying for the staff. They're paying for the cleaning. I'm surprised that's never advanced further than it is. But the amount of money they make, they can probably afford to have all the people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
So do you change the terminology of some of the tools, or do you go into depth for things like Six Sigma and the difference in variation and standard deviation? Do you cover that?
Not overly too much, because what we promote is we don't deliver like open courses where people are coming from different companies. So as a rule, we work with a company, and it's an internal course that we tend to keep the same. We review it for every client, obviously, and there's some people that might want to But most people, the companies that we work with, just want it in layman's terms. And I always introduce it with Lean Six Sigma. It's just a big dose of common sense. Because like, you find that we've got a bunch of lorry drivers, stevedores, and I'm not saying that, but most of them sit there with their arms folded straight away anyway. So I'm going to talk about standard deviation to you now, and I'm going to go into this voice about it, and they'll be like, what? What time is the free lunch? So no, not necessarily, but we do move on up to Greenbelt, which is definitely, but it's our common friends of Catalyst Consulting who provide our Greenbelt training for us. And that is definitely another level, but it needs to be. Whereas I'm delivering the 2-day yellow belt continuous improvement training, we've got to engage with everybody. We could do 100 people and probably 60 of them will keep running with it.
So you're really targeting sort of entry level, just kind of trying to spark that ember of engagement within it.
Yeah, because I have people, that have been sent on to a yellow belt course and they come back. And the problem is nothing wrong with doing that, but they get lost in the melee of work and everything else, and there's no support network so much for them with some companies. We just try to make this part of moving forward, get it as business as usual as soon as we can, get somebody within the business to take over the training and the running of it, create digital champions, and join it all together with we name the program generally if it's a big enough program. Dover's is Working Smarter Together. Ports of Jersey was the acceleration program. Gives it a bit of ownership. And so, and in Dover now, for example, I'm just handing over to the team there that we've built internally, and they're going to storm it. Out of the people that have all been trained, there's a few, there's your 20% have dropped off, and probably a few more to be fair, but they still like it. They still think they're empowered though. They're walking away being empowered, but they might not go and make some changes, but they know change is coming. So now we're going to hand over to them, and they're going to be absolutely the great strong team. We've got police officers, we've got stevedores, we've got engineers, all running the program, and it's brilliant. We got all
That's
these
amazing.
Yeah, we got at the moment is an ex-Kent constable who works for Port Dover Police. So obviously the fire service was the senior emergency service. So the police used to just come and direct traffic for us. But I've managed to engage with one of them, and he's actually delivering the 365 now.
Oh, amazing. I was driving back from a conference yesterday, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was one of the firefighter, but the cars, like they have the fleet cars, all marked up. And then it was following me for ages. And then on the other side of the road coming towards me was a police car. And I looked in my mirror just to see if they waved each other. Like I was wondering if there was one of those camaraderie things where both emergency services and we wave at each other. They didn't. They completely blanked each other as they went past.
Yeah.
Bit of rivalry there, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And there's always a bit of fun. Like Port of Dover have got their own police. I don't know how many people know that. There's about 12 harbours across the country that have their own police. I love engaging with them because you just have a bit of banter, a bit of fun, and at the same time, we're going to make things better and simple. And it's like, there's a perfect example. Because they're shift workers, so we have to adapt. Okay, so they're shift workers, trying to get them in to do a 2-day course because they've got other training to do outside of that as well. So they get the rest days and they get the days for training. So what we decided to do with Phil, who's the guy I was talking about, who's going to be leading the Digital Champions, we came up with an idea of what we'll do is we'll have like a rapid improvement, continuous improvement event.
Quite a mouthful, isn't it?
So what we did was we brought them in, there was about 15 at a time over 4 days or 3 days it was. And we broke them into teams. Right, give us a problem. So they all got a problem each. And we did it really like fast-paced, just process mapping, the as is. Then we said, right, let's identify all the rubbish. And they know where that is directly because they do it all the time. And then they said, well, what the problem is, though, we've got to go through the rank, the structure. Richard Smead is the head of it. He's the head honcho for the police. And he just said, look, guys, I trust you. Let's get on with this. And they were like that, huh? And it was like...
They was empowered.
It was just amazing. And that is just so... And now, now they when I drive by at 21 mile an hour, they don't stop me. They just laugh and wave.
Do you know what I really love about what you're doing as well? Is that so often when you first sort of break into continuous improvement, and particularly when you do, I find the more advanced, like the green belts upwards,
Yeah.
you go back to do your first project or you're looking for your problem to address. And there's a real temptation through fear of doing it wrong to use every tool that you've been taught. So, it's the equivalent of going out, buying your first starter toolkit for your first house. And then, the nail needs putting in the wall and you whip out your screwdriver, your spanner set, your socket set, the chainsaw, you go for the full Monty because you're not quite sure what to use. And what I like about what you're doing is you're sort of stripping that back and you're not giving them all the tools to cause that confusion. You're saying, look, this is the problem. This is the best tool to go away and use to understand that problem.
That's it. And it's just about, the biggest thing is communication with them. The communication across the business. How often, I'd always say, just if everybody you get involved in it, you get them in a room, you talk about it, you will come up with a solution pretty quickly anyway. You don't need, to do a big SIPOC all the time, or you don't need to do a fishbone diagram all the time. But if the process needs it, you now know what to do. Let's think, actually, let's just do some doodling on a piece of paper. Doesn't necessarily have to look like a fishbone, but you just, you got the idea of, is it the people that are causing the problem? Is it the machine? Is it the whatever?
Just gets people thinking, doesn't it? Really thinking outside of the box.
Because a lot of the stuff that they bring to the problems they bring to the party, you don't need a SIPOC for it. And I have to, but we go through it very briefly, depending on the level of engagement. Some people are really interested in it. Majority aren't, though, to be honest. But they need to know it's there for them to use. Why? How do you get your start and end of process? Who are your stakeholders, etc. And it's good to talk through it.
That's another benefit of doing what you're doing by going in with a simplicity approach, is that you're creating a pool for learning. There'll be the ones that are not interested or doing it because they need to do it and then just getting it done, go home. That's fine. If some people don't want to do it, that's absolutely brilliant. But then what you are doing is you're wheedling that out and you're going to end up with the core people that want to pull the learning. And then they can go on and do the more complex stuff with the experience of operating at that yellow belt level within their own organisations. I guess from the organisation's perspective as well, they're investing this 2-day time in the individuals being pulled away from their day job, but they're actually adding value at the same time because they're working on real projects that actually impact that organisation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. And we always, doesn't matter. We was in the Isle of Man the other week with a company with 150 people. For example, where we got Dover with a company of 400 people. I've got some other businesses where there's probably 15 people. But we always create an improvement tracker. So we get the title, who's running it, what the problem, a quick summary of the problem statement, what the as is to be, etc. But the savings, what is tangible, how many minutes, we work out minutes per year, or we work out money. A lot of it, though, isn't necessarily money, it's the time. Because it's easy to do, easy with 365 to get that time back. But also, so you do a process, how many sheets of paper do you use a year? So we can work out a carbon footprint from that. Is it good for employees? Is it making somebody, the relationships better? Is it, understanding more? So we always create a tracker with measures on that is they can add up and show, well, actually, look at what we've done this year. And we create, everybody's doing it. Funny enough, we build an app within Microsoft 365.
Of course you do.
And we call it through that. Of course you do. So they call me the man with the lists, because there's an app called Microsoft Lists and SharePoint Lists, and it's amazing, really. But anyway.
Maybe this is just me, right? But I think there's a real lack of knowledge around the opportunity with 365 because I've worked with the Microsoft Office setup for, all my life, like since it came out. Yeah. Do you remember the old little paperclip that used to sit in the corner with the eyes and he used to dance around?
Yeah, jumping around, yeah.
Yeah, like 1997 or whatever it was. But so I've always had it. But I'm sure many people are in the same boat as me here, where we've just used Excel, Word, PowerPoint, maybe OneNote if we're really getting extravagant.
Yeah.
but we don't really look at what else is available. And I don't know if that's because it hasn't been publicised particularly well or because we're just a little bit afraid of it and we don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I had a meeting with another port and they were on the call and said, right, Carl, we want some Power BI dashboards. We want to go from this Excel sheet and we want to put it onto Power BI. I said, great, that's easy to do. However, let's start at the beginning. Have you looked at putting all this in Microsoft Lists? And they went, oh, well, what's that look like? Showed them. They went, oh, right, yeah, let's put it in there first. Right, so now we can look at the data in a lot more, a lot better layout, and you can filter a lot easier. You can create flows. If somebody turns something to yes, then it'll send an email or whatever. There's lots you can do with it. And it was like that, and that was just like the first 10 minutes of a conversation. So people don't know what they don't know, do they? So
exactly, yeah,
and which is understandable, but it is so. There is so much to it. We've connected a power app to a company's weighbridge. So we're not literally connected it with a lead, but digitally it's connected. So it's connected to an actual piece of machinery. We're going to be connecting to some fuel tank readers soon. So you can get your fuel tank levels without having to pay.
Brilliant.
Without having to pay thousands of pounds a year for a company to sell you a piece of kit that you need the hardware, but we can put it into SharePoint.
But effectively, you're sweating an asset that you've potentially already got,
yes,
which is what continuous improvement and lean in particular is all about.
100%.
Getting the most out of what you got.
100%.
If people listening now, if there's a business leader listening now is thinking, do you know what? I recognise this, what Carl's describing. We've got more clipboards and documents knocking around with grubby fingerprints all over them than I can care to remember. We want to go digital. What's the first piece of advice that you think that they should be aware of?
Well, what they need to do is need to look at what they've got already. Use what you've got. I mean, I love 365, but if you've already got a system, maximise the heck out of it. Sweat it, like you just said. Really, because it's like having an iPhone or a Samsung. You get the latest version, but you don't necessarily know exactly what it can do. So the amount of times I have because we want to be trusted advisors to our clients. So they've got this program that's already there, but they're only using 10%. Well, let's see what the rest of it can do. We're going to lose out on maybe some trainings and development and all that, but that's not what it's about, because that honesty will pay you back in tenfold in the future. So what have you already got? Right, okay, what you've got is either good or isn't good. Then you need to decide on, we need to build it from a solid foundation. And that takes a bit of time. So we need a discovery phase. Let's look at what you've got, look at where you want to go, and let's work out a program to get there. But our standard approach with 365, for example, is we went to this company on the Isle of Man. And, well, I don't suppose I mind just saying, a company called Robinsons. So they are wholesalers, really well known, 150-year-old company, really nice. Their culture is amazing, by the way, if anybody's listening. If you want to speak to somebody about culture, speak to them. They're just such a lovely company. And we went in for 5 days and we did a bit of discovery on the first day. We found some processes and we built 3 apps within 5 days for them, reducing thousands of sheets of paper a year. And that they walked away, and now we know where we're going with them. So when we do a discovery phase, we don't just go, yeah, well, in the future, we're going to do this for you. We'll do it as we go. We'll fix things, quick fixes, get that done, put that there, etc. But you need to understand what your environment's like already. And once you've got the understanding of that, you can then work a way forward. Have a plan of ticking off certain assets, certain digital solutions that you don't need. It was not a solution for everything, obviously. Does it need to be done in the first place? Is one of the first questions I always ask. Why are you doing it anyway? Oh, well, we've always done that. We've always filled in the little red folder every day at 5 o'clock. Well, why? Stop doing it. I bet nobody notices. Yeah, so it's just understand what you've got already, maximise it, and try and get everything. I'm a big firm believer of it all being cloud-based, really, because then it gives you the flexibility and you can join solutions up.
I think there's a future book in this for you in the future, Carl. It could be called Carl Appleton, From Putting Fires Out to Creating Them. It's good, isn't it? That's a really good idea for a book. And you could talk about how you're setting them in these organisations.
Yeah, creating a burning platform.
Yeah, so you can really play on this. I want some royalties for that.
You can be my publisher, advisor.
There's no app, unfortunately, for this next challenge that's coming up for you, Carl, because we're going to play the yes-no game.
Right, okay.
It's just you on your own, and you've got to basically last 60 seconds under pressure as I fire questions at you without slipping up by saying the words yes or no.
Okie doke.
It's that easy.
Doesn't sound it. Go on.
I need you to pick card number 1, card number 2, or card number 3 to choose your given topic.
Middle for diddle, number 2.
Number two is good times, or are they? We will find out. If you hear the gong, that means you said yes, no, or a variance of yes, no. Variance being a mm-hmm or a uh-huh. Yeah, that's a yes. Yeah, or a that's a no. If you don't hear the gong and you last the full 60 seconds, you get some cheering and you'll win the star prize of your self-pride, which I'll send out first class this afternoon. All right? Right, you ready for this?
Go on then.
So Carl's time, he's been waiting for this for months, years, in fact. It's his moment. It's the yes no game with Carl Appleton. Carl, have you ever tried bungee jumping?
Never.
Do you enjoy solving puzzles?
Some of the time.
Have you ever attended a music festival?
Plenty of times.
Did you enjoy it?
It was okay.
Was it not muddy?
It was summer.
Oh, that's all right then. Do you prefer reading fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction.
Why?
Because it's gets me into my clear space.
You like clear space?
Sometimes.
Have you ever travelled solo?
Never.
What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Parachuting.
Oh, did the parachute work?
Obviously.
Do you enjoy cooking?
Did I what, sorry?
Don't worry. It's irrelevant because you've done it. It's irrelevant. So a man who was cool putting out fires on aeroplanes and burning buildings can nail the yes-no game with complete ease. I tried. I really did try. You weren't to be broken.
Plenty of practice with my son.
Are you asking the questions or giving the yes-nos?
Both.
Well done. That was absolutely brilliant. Look, Carl, I've really enjoyed having you on today. It's been really interesting to hear about how you approach the training side of things and about the 365 stuff. Where can people go if they want to learn more about what you've been talking about and Shape Associates and yourself?
Well, so we've got our website, which is www.shapeassociates.com. There's myself on LinkedIn. Please hook up with me. I find LinkedIn is one of the best tools in my arsenal of tools for promoting the business. I was actually told by an old manager, your scattergun approach on LinkedIn will never work. I'm not going to say his name, but if he's listening, which I doubt he is because he knows it all anyway. Well,
yeah, I want to know more.
I said, I'm out of 60 seconds there now, aren't I? So, shapeassociates.com. Find us on LinkedIn, Shape Associates, obviously, and Carl Appleton on LinkedIn. I'm the attractive, bearded, upside-down head looking man.
Better man's Grant Mitchell is what I would say. The Ross Kempon gangs. We've got Carl Appleton on 365.
People do say I look like a bouncer sometimes.
If you came into my organisation and told me how to do it a different way, I'd do it. There'd be no arguments. I'd be on it. Brilliant. Well, thank you, mate. Really appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for the invite. I really enjoyed it.
Some key takeaways from today's chat with Carl then. Carl's transition from the Navy to the Fire Service and eventually to the ports of Jersey demonstrates the importance of adaptability and seizing new opportunities for continuous growth. Carl's journey started with a yellow belt training course and rapidly progressed to a process improvement manager role, highlighting the value that embracing continuous improvement methodologies can have for career advancement. Success in process improvement often stems from a natural inclination to question existing processes and apply common sense to find better solutions. Question everything and keep it simple are the key messages that I picked up from Carl today. Addressing resistance within hierarchical structures requires fostering a culture of trust, reducing unnecessary checks, and empowering employees to embrace change. Carl gave some great examples where leaders had been empowering their teams to embrace continuous improvement, giving them the key to the city, the power to challenge every process in the search for waste. This empowerment is a great motivator and really is a key necessity if you want to get the most out of your continuous improvement methods. Utilising tools like Microsoft Lists, Power BI and Power Apps can streamline processes, reduce paperwork and enhance overall productivity, maximising the return on investment of existing software. But before you invest in these platforms and systems, look at what you've got already. Are you maximising its potential? Is there any juice left to squeeze? Understanding and addressing generational differences in technology adoption was another key area that we touched on today. Carl explained that he does find a clear divide in the willingness to adopt digital methods between generational types, demonstrating the benefits and ease of digital solutions can help bridge the gap between younger and older employees. One size really doesn't fit all, something to consider when preparing your communication approach to change. Drawing from his firefighting background, Carl emphasises the importance of prioritising tasks and maintaining perspective. Not every decision is critical, and a pragmatic approach leads to effective improvements. Great advice. A support culture where team members assist each other fosters a more proactive and positive work environment. Encouraging collaboration over finger pointing is key to success in process improvement. It's all about creating a positive, psychologically safe environment where innovation thrives and scientific thinking is used to try new things with no blame if it doesn't work out. It's all about learning. Embracing change, seeking mentorship, and staying curious are so important for personal and professional growth in a continuous improvement environment. Having frontline operational experience is invaluable for process improvement managers or change leads, providing essential credibility, the ability to empathise with the people that you're working with, and have an understanding of what actually goes on in that work area. Strong engagement and visible support from senior leadership is so important for the success of any process improvement initiative. Carl's example of how the senior leaders at the Port of Dover open and close the continuous improvement events is just brilliant. So good to hear. The message that this sends to the team cannot be underestimated. Absolutely love it. Now, making methodologies understandable is so crucial. Using plain language and relatable examples ensures that participants can grasp and apply what they learn effectively. It's all about knowing your audience, adapting your delivery methods, and making it meaningful. If you don't tick these boxes, sustaining any change will be a challenge. That brings us to an end of this episode of the Ever Celine podcast. Thanks so much for Carl for joining us today. Give us an insight into the work he's doing at Shape Associates, his career, and the unique approach of making the complex simple, which I think is so valuable. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to learn more, be sure to subscribe and follow the Ever Celine podcast on your preferred platform or at everceline.com. We can catch up on previous episodes that you might have missed. Take a moment to like and review the podcast on your listening platform of choice. It means the world to me, and your reviews are absolutely invaluable. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode. And don't forget, Ever Celine, you know it makes sense. The Ever Celine podcast is researched, produced and recorded by Matt Sims. Visit everceline.com to find out more.